We're staying open.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the August 21st Town Council meeting. We're going to begin with the Pledge of Allegiance, but I'm going to ask that everyone remain standing for a moment of silence, and we would like to send our deepest condolences to Attorney Mike Romano's family, in addition to Sergeant Major Sal Orlando's family, who we had a beautiful ceremony for this morning, and then, of course, for the victims and families in Maui. Thank you. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, we're going to begin with public comment, and this portion of the meeting is specifically set aside for comments from the public, who are asked to limit their comments to 2 minutes. Any person interested in providing public comment remotely should email publicmeetings@rockyhillct.gov prior to 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting, at which time a link will be provided to attend the meeting, as well as instructions on how to participate. And I see we have folks here, so please, when you come up, make sure you state your name and address for the record. Thank you.
Rich Paulus, Policio, 8 Washington Street, Rocky Hill. Madam Mayor, members of the council, town manager, director of finance, I just want to remind you of the suicide prevention panel discussion. Parents, age-appropriate youth, and members of each community are invited to attend this important free educational forum. With a panel of professionals, we will discuss the prevalence of suicide in our community, along with prevention efforts and resources. Hosted by the Wethersfield Rock Hill Elks Lodge number 2308, in partnership with the Rock Hill Human, Youth, and Senior Services. Monday, September 25th, 7 to 9 p.m., Rocky Hill Town Hall, 761 Old Main Street, in the Town Council chambers. If you have any further questions, just contact me at 860-257-8177. We have a pretty good panel that's set now with people that have expertise in suicide and prevention. We even have a state trooper, I can't remember his name right now, but and he's going to bring his comfort dog with him. But I'm still waiting for responses from 2 state agencies. But even if they don't respond, we have 5 to 7 people on the panel that have expertise in suicide and suicide prevention. Thank you.
May we have a copy of that, Mr. Policio?
Yes, you can have this one.
Thank you. Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard for public comment?
Good evening. Tony Palazzolo, Rocky Hill, George Road. Good evening. I'm here tonight seeking clarification of a new process introduced for naming places in our town. You see, I did not see any information regarding this prior to 8/10/23, and of course today's 8/21, so this is turning pretty fast in the rare reminder. Yet you are here tonight to vote on it. Some of my questions are, when was this committee formed and how did you recruit members? What criteria is being used to select nominees? How many did you have on your committee and how many names were submitted for nomination? I noticed that it was a 4-0 vote, so I assume that means that there were 4 people making this decision. Now, all of this is very nice, but I think you have a few loose ends. I will address in particular the naming of the room at the new senior center. Shouldn't there be some consultation with at least the senior liaison before forwarding and moving on names? To cut out or eliminate participation of the people is to slight our short of 2,000 members, let alone to eliminate all the members of the community, as this is a senior community center. Where is the democratic process in this, or are we just going to be told? What are the plaques? Where are the plaques that were dedicated to members in the former center? It is my understanding that they were stored when the center was packed for renovation. These should be displayed as history, just as the sport ones are out in the hall. By the way, I like your sign when you come in the door, something about history starting here. It's up over the thing when you come in opposite the elevator. That's very nice. I would like to suggest at least there should be an open discussion with the liaison and members on what they think should be the proper way to proceed in finishing our new center. There also should be a plaque put up with the names that were on the cover of the opening booklet for renovation. This is in keeping with past practices. Both the town hall and the library renovations have visual plaques. This is also history. I urge you to put these practices in place before you proceed with names, as I am sure there are many community members who would be worthy of nomination. In the case of a facility, you may wish to consider memorial donations, as the wireless microphones that are now used daily came as a gift just before we closed for COVID. People give to have remembrances of those who were there. Thank you.
Thank you.
By the way, I knew.
So we can't hear you if you're not going to come up.
Good evening, everybody. Derek Kalin, 116 Ridgewood Drive. I am the chair of the Sustainable Rocky Hill Task Force. I just wanted to make a brief statement of support because I know the Commission on Inclusion and Innovation is going to be presenting a package of recommendations to the Council tonight. I expect that one of those options is relevant for Sustainable CT certification. Under Sustainable CT, Action 1.3, developed and adopt a statement on equity, provides 15 points, which is a reasonable point getter. It is also required for gold certification under the Sustainable CT framework. So you should know, as you're considering a panel of options, that this has value not just for the community, but also for the framework that we have adopted. And if we do end up going forward, the task force would love to support this measure however we can. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Saima Kausar, 172 Partridge Drive. And I just want to emphasize on adopting the equity statement as a voting member of the Sustainable Rocky Hill because sustainability cannot be achieved without equity. And I'm also speaking as a representative of Muslim community from Rocky Hill because Muslims are a minority in Rocky Hill. So that's what. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Hey, y'all. Beverly Fortune, 506 Cedar Hollow. I just came here tonight to remind all of you that we're still down there. We're still cleaning, desanitizing, and trying to fix the mess that the mud and construction debris left us. Not flood, not water. There was no water. It was mud and construction debris. And at the July meeting, I think it was the 27th or the 17th, Fire Chief Garrahy had actually said in his report that 26 firefighters showed up, which was wonderful. They did a great job, and thank God for Rocky Hill Volunteer Fire Department. They're wonderful. But the point that he was making and what I'm making now is that all the pumps that they used to clean out the basements were not cleaning out water. They were actually getting clogged with mud and the construction debris. And just let me remind you, and those that don't know, you've been reading little bits and pieces that kind people have written in about Cedar Hollow. And what I want you to know is that the night that this happened, it happened so fast and with such force that this mudslide, I believe their retaining wall or berm or whatever it was that broke, came onto Cedar Hollow property, and it just mud and debris just broke through with such force the basement windows of, I believe, 6 or 7 units, filled to 8 feet. That's how quick and fast it happened. It was picking up washing machines and throwing them around. It was broke doors in half. If someone had been down in their basement, it's a miracle because no one got hurt, no one got killed. However, it happened, and we were left with this mud, sludge mess. And as it was drying, we had this stuff that looked like dried cement everywhere, and it stunk. And you could still go into our neighborhood, and you could still see the mud that's just kind of stuck onto the sidewalks and roadway. But we're there, we're cleaning up, we're doing our best. No one's insurance is covered because it says we're in a flood zone. It's not considered a flood zone. It's never had water in 40 years in the basements in the 500 building. But we're stuck because we have nothing. We lost so much and we have nothing coming to us. We need to rebuild. And what I want you to understand also as the town council is sitting here, we're not just 11 units that got affected or displaced or 34 units that got a mess in their basements. We're 80 families that live in Cedar Hollow, and those 80 families together pay the town of Rocky Hill in taxes around $260,000. The reason I'm bringing this up to you is because I really believe that this happened because of the neglect on Mr. Belfonte, who owns apparently that property, and the construction company. It had been asked many times. I think town council even asked him how he could, help us to guarantee something anyway that this wouldn't happen. And February 2022, he was getting his approval, and he was happy to tell everyone that he doesn't think anything will happen, and Cedar Hollow will not have any draining issues or damage due to the construction. Those are his words. But it happened. And the units that, did get displaced and those that lost, so much, I'm just really concerned now because do we now rebuild? We're buying furnaces, we're buying hot water heaters. We're buying washers and dryers. We lost our basements. We have to put in flooring and carpet or whatever we decide to do if we have the money, which, as I just mentioned, some large things have to be purchased first. Do we dare? Do we dare put things back, or will this happen again? I'm not so confident in Mr. Belfonte. I really wish, since he only pays about $80,000 a year for all of that property in taxes, I would like to invite him to Cedar Hollow with any of you that like to come, because it is a great neighborhood. It is 80 families, and those 80 families work hard. And unfortunately, we lost a lot. And we're later in our years, most of us, so we don't have the time to work and try to recreate what we had. But I just wanted to kind of let you all know that this is what's going on. And again, do we dare start over? I'm very fearful. Thank you for listening to me.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard?
Good evening. My name's Laura McKiernan, and I live on 280 Westerly Terrace in Rocky Hill. I'm here tonight to discuss my concerns about the new three-way stop and pedestrian crosswalk at Pondside Lane and Hayes Road, which is less than a half mile from my home, where I live with my husband and my 2 young sons. I moved to Westerly Terrace from Newington 2 years ago when my first son was 2 years old and I was pregnant with my second. As you can imagine, since then I've spent a lot of time pushing a double stroller between the Hayes Farmstead, Maxwell Park, and the playground at West Hill Elementary. And generally, the sidewalks, the local neighborhoods are great and a major step up from our former home in Newington. But there's a critical sidewalk gap at Hayes Farm that requires an off-road stroller to traverse. After hearing that a pedestrian walking their dog had been struck by a vehicle in this area not too long ago, I found the sidewalk master plan on the town website, which shows the Hayes Road gap in front of the farm as a priority, which eased my mind. But when I saw the new three-way stop and pedestrian crossing at Hayes Road and Pondside Lane with a Freshport sidewalk to a single residence, I realized my family and our neighbors might not be the priority I thought we were. Even if the crossing is to help a child get to West Hill Elementary via the Pondside Lane cut-through, there's an entire neighborhood's worth of children who are not being served and who could use safe access to the cut-through and the wider neighborhood. In addition to my concerns about equity and safe access for pedestrians, the three-way stop's located at the base of a hill and has poor sight lines for drivers due to the vertical curve. Drivers who come to a lawful complete stop at the three-way intersection will be at heightened risk of being rear-ended by other drivers traveling at excessive speeds down the hill. A dead-end residential street the size of Pondside Lane doesn't typically warrant an all-way stop unless residents are having a tough time waiting for a gap in traffic to turn onto Hayes Road, and I'm open to hearing a compelling case based on the needs of Pondside Lane's residents. But if the three-way stop was installed for the benefit of a single residence, essentially private pedestrian crossing, it seems to be a waste, and the town's investment better made in closing the sidewalk gap itself throughout the neighborhood. Removing the three-way stop and eliminating the Hayes Road gap by installing complete sidewalks to serve all residents would truly serve the neighborhood. A safer location for a crosswalk would be closer to Hayes Farm, a proper distance from the base of the hill for good sight lines and proper signage. The crosswalk relocation would be for the safety of both pedestrians and drivers alike. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Sebastian Canamella. I live at 140 Countryside Drive. I also wanted to voice my concerns as well as that location. I've had multiple discussions with the town manager, town engineer. I've requested the engineering study that does not support the location of that stop sign. According to the MUTCD, you need an engineering study, crash history, pedestrian activity. None of that was done. And it's my understanding that, excuse me, that the report produced by the town engineer in fact said it doesn't support or warrant the construction of that stop sign. So I've had multiple discussions with them, and last week I talked to the town manager and I asked him when they're going to remove that because it's an unsafe condition. You have people coming over the crest of the curve down to a stop sign, and you have one house on that side, and that's it. So, like I said, I've already had multiple discussions with the town engineer, town manager, and I'm waiting on information for that as well. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Morning. Kevin Tedesco. I live at 65 Pondside Lane. It's going to be kind of a similar theme here, but just for full disclosure, for where I'm coming from, I have a background in transportation planning, specifically in complete streets planning. I led the practice for a Fortune 500 company here in Connecticut, specifically for active transportation. So with that, I'm just going to say that the infrastructure that was installed is going to hurt somebody. I know it might have been well-intentioned, but you really are going to hurt somebody. And that's really the essence of active transportation, and that's not just, it's all modes. So with that, I just want to say this should be removed immediately, because you are opening yourself up for liability. There are avenues to close gaps in sidewalks. So the town has never applied for the community connectivity program, which is from the DOT. They have a road safety audit program, which also is free for the town to use, which Rocky Hill has never done. You guys have done a transportation alternatives program, which was great. That can also be used again. So with that, again, I just want to express some deep concern here. So please take what we're saying seriously, because it really is a very unsafe situation. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Natasha Fatu. I live at 10 Heron Drive in Rocky Hill here. I am a transportation engineer with experience in traffic engineering, specifically safety. I also am concerned about the all-way stop on Hayes Road at Pondside Lane. The all-way stop was I've been working with the town, reached out to the town manager, town engineer, the mayor, and all of you town council members. So I wanted to come in person today to speak to you about this very unsafe situation. I'm not necessarily looking at it from a funding side of things. It really is safety for me. I work in traffic engineering in safety. My job every day is to work on reducing fatal and serious injury crashes. The all-way stop, national research shows that unwarranted all-way stops actually lead to an increase in crashes, in addition to the severity of the crash at intersections where stop signs are unwarranted. So I'm really coming at this from a safety perspective, especially with the vertical crest traveling northbound on Hayes Road. There's a vertical curve, and that's where the stop sign was placed. Not only am I concerned about the all-way stop, I am also concerned about the crosswalk location. Because of the vertical curve, that crosswalk has limited sight distance. We are now, as a town, as a municipality, as any person working in public works, in engineering, our job is to make the community safe, it's traveling community safe, get them from their from A to B safely. We also have to use federal publications. We have manual on uniform traffic control devices to help guide us for a consistent approach to traffic safety. One of our tasks as municipal or public works and engineering is to provide, delineate a path for pedestrians to use safely. The location of Pondside Lane, the crosswalk in that vicinity, with that vertical curve, we are now putting pedestrians in harm's way with vehicles coming down that curve not being able to see them. So I think that I would recommend the town, remove the stop sign, all-way stop, including the infrastructure as it exists. I understand it's bad today. However, I have observed people driving on Hayes Road confused, especially at night, because the reflective strips are still visible. So they're coming to that area and they're not sure what to do. I've also seen aggressive driving because of the confusion that other motorists are experiencing. So that infrastructure really needs to be removed if it's going to be, as well as the ramps. We're leading people to cross that roadway when it's not a safe situation. National studies point to unwarranted stop signs, as I mentioned, causing more crashes. But also, what it also leads to is people not complying with stop signs when they are actually warranted. When they come to a stop and there's no vehicles coming out or no reason for them to stop, they start rolling through the intersection. And that's where this becomes an unsafe situation, not only for that unwarranted location, but for locations where stop signs really are warranted because people start disregarding them. So I definitely recommend, and I'm willing to work with the town on some ideas. I've already submitted some recommendations. I fully support the gap, completing the gap north of 280 or 308 Hayes Road to Westerly Terrace. There's definitely been observed pedestrians using that side of the road. So please, and it is identified in the 2016 and 22 master sidewalk plan. So that would be an appropriate treatment for all users of the road to help keep the pedestrians safe, walkers, joggers, bicyclists. And then I would recommend a crosswalk at the terminus of the sidewalk on the west side of Hayes Road in the vicinity of Hayes Farm Driveway. That would be a more appropriate location for a crosswalk. A rectangular rapid flashing beacon device could be installed to help enhance pedestrians crossing the street. That area is a level tangent section, which provides more visibility for vehicles to see the pedestrians as well as the pedestrians to see the vehicles. And if you guys have any questions regarding our concerns, it is not only is it a liability to the town. If there is a crash there, the town is liable. There's no engineering report or study to warrant the stop signs or the crosswalk, and there's evidence refuting the need for placement of the crosswalk or stop sign there. But the liability is not my major concern. It's the safety of the people, the community. I know people that walk on that road, the neighbors, a lot of people, school children, they walk on Hayes Road. So I think that it's very important that we remove that infrastructure immediately.
Alan Smith, 112 Old Main Street. I think it's safe to say somebody really stepped in it when they approved putting that stop sign there, because they did it right in front of a bunch of people that have a lot of traffic knowledge. But I'm not here to talk about that. And Ms. Fortune, I think, summed it up the best, that we all need to remember Cedar Hollow. I would just point out a couple extra things to add to that. So the first thing that the developer said that they were going to do after tearing down the building at the Kelson Row property, they said that at a February 2022 meeting. Ms. Fortune had that correct.
Mr. Smith, can you please address the council and not the public? Thank you.
Yes, so Ms. Fortune said that correct. The first thing that they said that they were going to do was install drainage, but from what I can see, they didn't start doing that until July 5th, 2 days after the storm that affected our neighbors. So my question is, first of all, are they done installing that? There seems to be still a lot of equipment there. But I just want to reiterate that I don't believe we should be issuing any more building permits for any new construction there, other than continuing the drainage if they need to do that, until it has been rectified for Cedar Hollow, until you determine whether that construction site contributed to the destruction of their neighbors. And I believe in the meeting packet from tonight, there's a reference to this. And they were supposed to be doing a study, but I'd like to hear, whether we have a time on when that stormwater study is actually going to be completed, or if we have a timeline. And I think it just goes to show why we need to do an independent study and not rely on one that's provided by the developer, who obviously has skin in the game if it's determined that they contribute to it. Thanks.
Okay, we're going to close public comment. We're going to move on to appointments and resignations. Deputy Mayor Sharma, any?
No appointments or resignations.
Councilor Duff?
We have one resignation, Sandy Kelly, from the Sustainability Task Force.
Okay, thank you. Approval of the minutes, A, Town Council meeting July 17, 2023.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to move to approve the minutes of the Town Council meeting July 17th, 2023.
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
Aye.
Moving on to actually, do we want to move, Chris? Thank you.
I'll make a motion that we move the item under new business, item F, Commission on Inclusion and Innovation Report of Recommendations, and make that item 3A on the agenda, so it would come after appointments and resignations.
I'll second that.
Well,
It has to come after the
We've already done
minutes,
approval of minutes, so you might want to do 4.
Oh, yes, 4B.
4B?
Yes.
Amendment. 4B. I second it.
Okay, any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, so we're going to,
Mayor, I'd like to have a correction to the agenda.
okay,
Under new business, item G, the 3 names of applications. Item 3, a conference room in the community center, the Donald and Anita Watson room. That needs to be corrected to the Donald G. Memorial Room to reflect exactly what the applicant says. So those 3 are the way the applicants read, and that's it.
read the name again.
So the change is from the Donald and Anita Watson Room to the Donald G. Memorial Room.
Donald G.
Watson.
Watson?
Memorial Room.
Okay. That's your friendly amendment.
That's just the motion to correct item 3 in G to reflect the application.
All right, is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, so I'm going to call up the Commission on Inclusion and Innovation Chair, Mr. Tom Kosker, for a report of recommendations.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for having me. Tom Kosker, 52 Tall Pines Lane, Chair of the Rocky Hill Commission on Inclusion and Innovation. And I'll let Beck introduce herself as well.
Hi, I'm Beck Markowitz. I'm the Vice Chair of the Commission on Inclusion and Innovation, and I live at 4 Butternut Lane in Rocky Hill.
All right, thank you, guys. Thank you so much for putting us on the agenda tonight. I'm just going to pause for 1 second as the papers get passed along so you can follow along as I do our presentation. No like formal presentation, we don't like slideshows and that kind of stuff, but at least I have it in print for y'all. So this is the recommendations that our commission, the Commission on Inclusion and Innovation, have put together for Town Council. That is such our charge. We have been working on these for a few months now and have voted on them to present them to all tonight. These recommendations, I'll say briefly, come from input from the public, from both public comment at our meetings, as well as from surveys that were distributed to town community members. And we've gotten, as of the date of the compilation of this survey, so I may not be exactly up to date, but I'm fairly close. There were 342 community members that had responded to our survey, and we can give you more details on that if you want on the survey and stuff. But so right now, I'll just read the recommendations to the Town Council dated 8/21/2023. The Rocky Hill Commission on Inclusion and Innovation provides these recommendations to the Rocky Hill Town Council based on input from the community. The Rocky Hill Town Council should consider the following: draft a public formal town statement or proclamation addressing diversity, equity, and inclusion, and following comment and input from community stakeholders, issue a statement to the Rocky Hill community that includes a visual demonstration of such. The second is collaborate with the Rocky Hill community to hold a public event in 2023 as a recognition and celebration of the diversity within our community and the importance of equity for all. And the third is to review and analyze review, analyze, and make necessary changes to town policies and practices with respect to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and to address any systemic inequalities that may exist. And I'll close this formal statement by saying that the Commission offers its support to the Town Council to accomplish any or all of the above. So that's just kind of my formal reading of the statement that with the recommendations. I can answer questions, of course. I have a lot more to say in details about this if you have questions and want to talk details about these things. But these were the three kind of bulleted recommendations that the Commission is putting forward, again, based on input from the community and based on the discussions of the Commission at our last couple meetings that we forwarded to you all. So I'll start there and open the floor to questions from you all.
I don't understand in the first bullet point what a visual demonstration is.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because we had that discussion ourselves. It's really just some outward representation and recognition that this has been done, right? So whether it's, we didn't want to detail it too much to tell you all what the ideas were, but things like, again, visual representation, putting it on the wall at the town council, at the town hall, or publicizing it in some way, right? So different ways that you can formally, represent and
like
visually.
Give notice.
Huh?
Give notice of it.
And give notice of it, and again, you guys all know this better than I do because you're in this business a little more than I am, but giving public notice in a newspaper is one thing, and then really letting the community know. You can use local publications to say, hey, the town has issued a formal statement. You know what I mean? So there's things like that. We didn't want to detail exactly that, but those are some of the things that came up in our conversation about that, Madam Mayor.
And can number 1 and number 2 be put together?
So that was a thought. I think in the conversation we've had together as a commission and with the public, they were separated many times in that one, they accomplish similar things but different things, right? So the formal statement is the town council, the town representative saying, here's what we believe in terms of equity and inclusion in our town. The event, right? We had been calling it Unity Event was one title that we had chose for it, was a way to bring the community together, right? Which is kind of one way to show our unity, right? And our belief in diversity, equity, and inclusion, and give an opportunity for everyone to come together, and I'll say sort of like fall fair-ish, in a way, but really focused on like the pride event that we have in town and a number of other events we have in town, but this one specifically set up for, again, spreading the word of diversity, equity, inclusion. So that was different in most things than the statement,
No, I get that. It's just that when we ask for input from community stakeholders beyond public comment at your commission, beyond the survey, are we comfortable that there's going to be stakeholders coming out, and do we need an event with maybe the booth or something to say, hey, we're going to work on a proclamation.
Yeah.
What do you think? What do you want to do?
Yeah, no, that's a good point. And I think when we talked about, input from community stakeholders on the statement, it was like drafting a statement, so it wasn't just, it was other members, and I'll use the example of, Sustainable Rocky Hill has offered their input and, outreach to sometimes a different segment of the population, right? Because we all kind of reach certain segments of the population. So they had offered their support to also give input on that. So that was kind of the idea is, hey, we'll draft a statement and then we'll get input from the community to make sure that it reflects everyone's interests.
I'm just hung up, and I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Yeah, please.
I'm hung up on getting input from the community.
Yeah, okay, I understand.
So we have to.
Well, when we had our public comment, a lot of times there was people saying that they would like to contribute on behalf of a certain community in town. We had people talking for the Indian population. We had people talking for the Muslim population. We had people talking for the African American population. Now, not all those people were in charge of groups, but they were still people in various communities that aren't always accurately represented here that wanted to share their point and help with this statement. So even small groups like that, or even just people, really want to share. And whether that's that we hold a meeting specifically for something like this, that's up to you guys how you want to make this statement. but there are a lot of people who have come to us saying, we want to help with this statement specifically.
Okay, so if you're comfortable that we don't have to reinvent the wheel, and there are people, if we announce, hey, at the library, 5 o'clock on Saturday, we're doing this, right? Come in.
Yeah.
That, if we do that a couple times, maybe 2-3 times, we can get these stakeholders engaged.
I think so.
Wouldn't it be like walk in my shoes kind of thing? I mean,
That could be
that's how I
one
think
way,
about it.
right? So
Yeah.
there's different ways
I
to
mean,
get your input, right? Yeah.
Sure. Actually, I have a question for you.
Yeah, sure.
Actually, a couple of them.
Sure.
So, are these recommendations based on your survey?
They are based on our survey as well as the public comment at our meetings, at our public meetings.
Sure.
Both of those. And I'll say, and also partially on input that commissioners have received in our travels throughout the community, right? Because we have a presence at different places, right? Fall Fest and just being in the community. So just gathering input because that's what we are, right? We're stakeholders that have been appointed to represent the community, right? So,
Right.
so it includes that as well. So it's not one or two things, it's kind of all of those things.
Do you have the survey data available?
I do.
Can
Yeah,
you
we
make it
do.
available to us?
Yeah, I can make that available
Can you
to
do
you.
it through email or whatever?
Absolutely,
I would love
sure.
to- Did you
However
break
you'd like.
Did you break it down by gender, race?
So
those kind of things?
we have, and I have some of it right here in front of me, and not to belabor all the details, but yeah, we have it broken down as far as, because we ask questions like, do you live or work in Rocky Hill? Because community members who work here and don't live here, are represented there as well. Your age, your race, all those things. So we ask those questions, and we have breakdowns of who answered what to what, sort of thing, like what our percentages are, and then what your concerns are, right? So then there's these concerns. Now, we don't have the concerns linked to this particular age group, let's say,
That
right?
wouldn't be, yeah.
That would be different, right? But this is, here's who answered their survey out of 342 people, and here's what that looks like. And then here are some of their, here are their responses. And some of them are, on a scale of 1 to 5, how do you feel, blah, blah, blah. But many of them are, give us your thoughts. So we have that.
Yeah, I think
We can
that's
get
what
that
I'm
data.
more interested in. I think hopefully they're not related to a person, because I don't
not.
want to know.
They're not.
So they're
They're not correct.
So
No, it was
they're
anonymous. It was
anonymous.
anonymous
They're
survey.
anonymous.
It was an anonymous
right?
survey.
Okay.
Yes, correct.
Okay. So so that would be great if you could share it. I don't
Sure.
know. If
And we've
others are
created a
interested, but
summary. We've created a summary that we can get to you guys. That's because the raw data is just this giant, big, messy thing.
I
that's
wouldn't mind
really
seeing
annoying.
it.
I'm sure. Yeah.
Punkage loves You can send it to
Yeah,
me.
they like data. We'll give the data nerd can get the data. That's cool. I'm a data nerd too. I got you.
Yeah, send
I
me
got
the raw file. No
you.
problem.
I got you. Duly noted. Thank you, Punkish.
Have you gotten responses and input from young people? Because a lot of times at a public meeting, they might be reticent to come forward. And
Yeah.
have you done outreach, even to elementary school, but any age children?
Yeah, I'll say the short answer to that is we haven't done any specific outreach to the elementary schools at all. Beck is a representative of the high school age population. She's a graduate, just recent graduate this year. So she has tapped into that, as far as bringing that voice to the meetings, as well as having them fill out surveys and things like that. I'm trying to look quickly, and I just don't see it right off the top of my head, but how many... Yeah, have attended school. We have a certain percentage of attended schools, but I have the age in here and stuff. We did get some responses, but as you would imagine, it's a little lighter on that population, certainly. And that's a good point. I think that's one of the things that we continue to do. So just for your purposes and for everyone listening, I mean, this survey is, and I'll pass the thing out in a few minutes about the survey, which my QR code's not working right now, sadly. But we'll get that fixed. We'll get that fixed. But that survey is an ongoing thing. It's still open, right? So we're looking to continuously we took a snapshot, and that's what you're going to see when I send the summary to y'all, as a snapshot of a certain date. We continue to get input. We continue to reach out to segments of the population that we might not reach always, right? So we're trying to make sure we hit those, and we'll duly noted, we'll check on the youth and extra young, population. So
We
good
haven't
point.
really done anything specifically for like elementary or middle school age. It's mostly been reaching out to people my age in high school, because that's really the only connection we've had so far was me, but also us going to events like currently the Farmers Market and Fall Fest was a really great way for us to get the survey out, and just all our events out to younger people, because they like going to events like that because they're fun for them. And so them getting that information there was a great way to spread it. Look, here's another young person.
I mean, if you think about it, 342 is a big number. Okay. The question is like how representative it is
Of course.
the town.
Of course.
Really, and that's what.
And that's our goal in the commission, right? Is to try to get the voice of all, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Correct. So that is our charge, and that's what we're working on. And that's why I said it's open. It's going to continue to be open. We're going to continue to outreach to groups as we look at the data and say, geez, this looks a little weighted towards homeowners, not renters, or renters, not homeowners, or this age population. Oh boy, let's look at this age and how can we outreach to them specifically? So those are things we're looking at. We appreciate the thoughts, though.
I had a couple questions on point two. One's probably more for Ray than you, so you can hold on a second. It's talking about holding a public event. Is that the town council's purview about holding an event? I mean, we don't get involved like Fall Fest or the Farmers Market, as you mentioned. So is that part of this, or is that okay, or?
Well, it's okay, but I'm thinking it wouldn't be the town council sponsoring the program. Maybe it would be working with volunteers from the commission or people that they're working with also.
And probably work with Parks and Rec, depending on what they want to do and that sort of thing. So I'm just trying to understand how.
Community service.
You understand my.
I do. No, I absolutely. And again, we're a group of 7 volunteers, so our time and resources are limited as well. So we do see it as a collaboration of our commission. Rock Hill Sustainability again has offered to participate in that. We've had other community members and groups offer to help and participate in that, as well as and again, I don't speak for them because that's your job to connect us with them, sort of thing. But Parks and Rec and the school system and some other groups in town that we'd be happy to partner with, the libraries and the senior center and all these different groups that we could obviously connect with.
Yeah, this is more of a technicality question.
No, I agree. Yeah,
I just want to make sure we're not avoiding something that we shouldn't, that type of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So the second question along that, you're talking about doing a public event in 2023. We're pretty much 2/3 of the year done. Do you have something in the works that you can still get done by?
And I'll say this: we've also, since we're getting into the weeds on this stuff, that's great. I love looking in the weeds. We've partnered with the Commission on Women, Children, Seniors, Equity, and Opportunity, and Commissioner Tan is here tonight as a representative of that commission, the state commission, for those of you who are not familiar with it. And so we were starting down the road of planning it, and then things just came up that we decided to kind of shelf it for a short time till it was more appropriate to do so. So we were kind of like right there. We were ready to plan it for the summer, actually. We had it kind of sort of going and then kind of put the brakes on and put a pause on it for a little bit. So, time goes by and summer goes quick. So when we wrote this back in June, we were like 2023, so
So I guess my question is, do we want to give a little flexibility into that wording?
That is entirely up to you, and that's fine. Again, these were the recommendations that we had voted on, so I didn't change them.
What's comfortable for you, I guess?
We're fine with and sometimes my mind works in school years because I still have school-age children. So, yes, 2023/2024. Sooner than later was the point, right? I think it was the point in putting the 2023 timeframe on there was we don't want this to let it slip, and next thing you know, it's 2025 before we're doing anything.
Yeah,
I think that was the point.
I just want to
respond to the public.
I just want to put something in that's also possible to
totally understand
to complete in the time frame. So I
agree. And the fall gets busy, and the fall gets busy, and there's Fall Fest, and there's other things, and it's holidays and all that stuff.
Yeah.
So I hear you. So yeah, we'd be comfortable with either just not pushing it out too far.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We can work with that on those details. Any other questions? He looked.
I have a softball question first. Walk a Mile, My Shoes came up. Do you have a date for that?
So, okay. So we have more stuff to pass out for you. The Walk a Mile in Their Shoes, and we got a few things we'll pass out as we talk about them. So the Walk a Mile in Your Shoes is on September 9th. I'm passing that along. That's been posted in different places, and some of you have already signed up for it because I've seen your names on the sign-up sheet. So please sign up. So the Walk a Mile in Your Shoes, for those of you who are not familiar, either here or listening, is an event we held last year for the first time, so this will be our second annual. And it's an opportunity for members of the community to come out and meet one another, get together, meet their neighbors that they may not know, and get to know one another. we often find in this world that, when you talk with one another and you get to know each other a little bit, a lot of barriers and walls come down, right? So that's kind of the idea behind the event. When our former commissioner, Dora Cobb, kind of got this idea rolling, it was a really successful event. I know some of you here in this room were there last year. And it was a very successful event. We had, I think about 50 people show up last year. We're hoping and expecting more this year as it grows. We've been to the farmers market, spreading the word, and we'll be out and about spreading the word on it. So yeah, September 9th, from 9 to 11 a.m. at Elmridge Park. It'll be bouncing between the Challenger baseball field, that accessible field in the middle of the park, as well as the pavilion there, kind of in the lower park. So, but yeah, it's helpful for us to have you sign up. You can just show up that day. So if someone wants to show up today, that'd be great. We can kind of partner you up. And the idea is that you get partnered off, you get paired off with someone else in the community who you may not know, who hopefully you don't know. That's kind of the point of it. So we're looking for people from all across the community to join us, including young folks. Children are welcome to your elementary school point. We actually had some people there helping with sort of childcare, playing games and stuff with the younger children during the event. So we'll have some refreshments and stuff like that. But it's a chance to get to know one another and chat and get to know each other a little bit better than you might otherwise in town, going to events. So that's the event. Thank you for bringing it up.
Sure.
And I'll let you prompt me on all the other stuff, and I'm sure you'll bring them up while I.
Yeah, well, my next question, so this is a series of recommendations made to the council.
That's right.
What are our next steps as a council on these? Do we find, and the other piece at the end says, the commission offers its support to the town council to accomplish any or all of the above. So are we, and Ray, this might be a question to you, is the council going to identify an owner for these tasks or different groups to work with them? I speaking for myself, I'm not sure that I'm, personally capable of drafting the DEI statements and the other things where we might want to bring in others, for that task. Do we refer that back to the committee? What's the, how do we move forward without ping-ponging things around too much?
I'll let you answer that, Ray.
Well, I'll try.
Yeah.
At least I'll make a comment. Yeah. I think we would be working with the commission, also working with Dana McGee, our Director of Human Resources. Oh, she's on her way up. To help us formulate a statement, a draft here. And we absolutely would, you would absolutely need input from them to make sure we're on the right track and we're hitting what we need to hit in order to say what we need to say. So we would be relying on the committee and the commission, and as well as HR.
And as I guess Dana's coming up, this would be more of an informal process. We don't need to formally approve the recommendations. They've been made to us. We're absorbing them. Is there an action that we need to take tonight on them?
I wasn't expecting that. Honestly, I was expecting, here's our recommendations, here's what we're suggesting, and then kind of just to work with you offline as commissions do all the time, right? I mean, commissions do a lot of things in town every day, and you guys sometimes may direct them to work on this or work on that or do these sorts of things. So it was kind of like, here's our recommendations, and we're sort of look for your guidance, sort of blessing guidance / to yes, do that, sort of thing, you know what I mean? Or maybe we're not sure that's the way to go, whatever, right? So that's what we're kind of expecting. And yes, Dana would.
And I think too, Chris, with the state commission's guidance and input that it would provide to our local commission, and then with Dana sort of pulling that together, and I hate to put that on her plate.
Yeah.
But
she's got a little bit on her plate.
Yeah, she does. But as a staff advisor,
Yep.
probably makes sense. And then for her to pass that down to us in the form of different drafts, I think it would be easier. And then certainly once Punkage synthesizes and analyzes all the data, he can give us some. And I mean it most sincerely, that you can give that to the council. And as we look at things, we can do a side-by-side analysis, because you know how to do the numbers. We don't. So
I'm happy to do that.
And we've had, we've reached out and we've heard there's other towns that do these similar things, right? So we're not the only people that do this sort of stuff. So we have samples from other towns and things like that we can use for a draft and a starting point. If you do have questions for Dana, she's here.
I don't think so. I don't.
Okay. Okay.
Chris, I don't know.
She's
Chris,
here
do you?
waiting in
No.
the wings
No.
for
Yeah,
you.
no.
So if you
Waiting
need
for
her.
the music to play. My last question just be, you
Sure.
guys have been working on this for a long time. You mentioned doing surveys for over a year, go last year's Fall Fest. In terms of progress, what does a win look like to the committee kind of this year and then moving forward?
Oh, wow. I'll try to answer that on behalf of the commission. Yeah, right. What's a win look like? I think a win would look like if our Unity event is not happening, it's certainly dates on the books for, sort of early-ish half of the year of 2024 to make it happen. The planning's along the way to make it happen. I think, and again, it could happen quicker, it could happen sooner if we wanted to, I think a win is having things moving along on the public statement, you know what I mean? That's kind of what Lisa said, Mayor Murata said, is the, drafts going back and forth and kind of talking about it, working with different groups of people on it, sort of thing. So, in the near future, next few months-ish sort of thing, something like that.
No, I like that. And I think, if anything comes up tonight, maybe we can put a motion on the table to have, and we can talk about this, but perhaps having this statement by the end of the year and having the public event first thing January, new year and new everything that comes with a new year, right? Just in terms of a timeline, because I do agree, like things do get away from us, but just look at A Mile in My Shoes. How many months did it go into planning? And this is September, right? So if that seems practical, I'll throw that out there.
Yeah, no, I agree with what Chris said and what the Mayor said here. I think we should put something specific on the timeline, like, a January, whatever that is, turns out to be. But I think something specific would be good, actually. Something concrete to, work against, rather than, just throwing it out there and then, because there are always pressing matters which come here, and if we don't put it on the agenda and make it a goal to, go against, I don't think, so I 100% agree with that. Whatever it takes, maybe we want to come back to this next meeting and have something specific, like you said, or maybe a
Well, I think
resolution.
we can look at our calendar. Do you have our meeting calendar to see when is our,
September 18th is the next meeting.
no, in December and,
Yeah.
so we can maybe work backwards to have some type of statement by the
first one
end of
is-
December?
Is it December 4th? Or no? I'm assuming it's December 4th is the first December meeting.
New council approves the.
4th and 18th are probably the December meetings.
Do we meet in December, right?
Yeah. Have we agreed on the dates because it's a new council, or
December 4th, like you said.
maybe the 18th, I would assume?
And
The 18th? Potentially that week, or,
the 18th is scheduled.
okay.
We can look at November, too, if you like.
Is this
Yeah, I just
approval
feel
or
like
to
this-
discuss it? Sorry.
I think that we should have something there that we can, if we can approve it, we can approve it.
Right.
So if we can get some drafts by November, right? Not going to take that long to approve it. And I've seen a bazillion of these, right? They can be whatever you want them to be. But I think if we set that guideline, I know we're pinning a new administration to that timeline, but they can come in and they can change that date if they need to.
You can always add it to the agenda.
Yeah.
And then if it,
All right, do you want to do a motion to shoot for the 18th?
Or September.
Yeah.
Do we need to do that, or we don't need a motion?
We need a
We don't need action. So amongst ourselves, we're going to do 12/18 because we need to set a goal, and then January for the event. And then I have a question about the third bullet, and I mean this with the utmost respect, because for years, we've seen this come up in different states and different municipalities, and I just can't wrap my mind around how to accomplish that, right? So I don't even know how many policies and procedures the town of Rocky Hill has. Are you asking us to review every single policy and procedure? And then with respect to the systemic inequalities, how are you defining that? Or are you leaving that up to us to define it? Because that's a really big ask, and I don't know, I honestly don't know how to do that. I don't know if you have to hire a company who comes in to do that. What are you thinking here?
All good questions, of which I don't have a lot of answers for you, but I'll say this. I think it can be a large task, right? I think it can be done strategically. I'm sure there's a lot of policies and procedures in Rocky Hill town, right, on all the different things. So I think it might be looking at, I'll say, kind of a bullet point list of which ones are the most important to address, maybe, or something, and prioritizing which ones you would look at. I don't know if it would involve a consultant to do, which would obviously be a money thing and all that kind of stuff.
But as your recommendation to us to do this, do you have information in your survey or that people have come to say in this particular policy or this particular practice is systemically unequal to others?
We have reports of people like complaining about different discrimination issues that could be tied to things like this. Would be the one thing I would say was in the survey, is we had a place for people to talk about any issues they've had in Rocky Hill, and I would say we could refer to that. But other than that, we did leave this pretty open-ended in the idea that it could cover a lot, which is why we don't have the most solid answers. And that's probably something you could ask us or any other commission or committee to look into, a more solid way to do this. But the reason we left it open is so that there's no limitations on what we can do to make sure that the people have what they want.
So people are asking for this, a review of the practices and policies with respect to DEI to address systemic inequalities.
That was asked for quite specifically by a number of people, both survey-wise and in public comment for that.
But
there wasn't specific
broadly.
Exactly. To answer your question directly, more broadly, not the policy at the blah 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 department. No.
Because I think that's the information we need. Because if we're looking at it so broadly, we're not going to actually accomplish the goal. And I want to accomplish the goal.
And we don't have that.
Okay, so we have to kind of think of.
That's a little requires
back.
a little more.
I don't know.
I have a recommendation for you on that. Why don't you go back to all your survey respondents and
we sort of can, we sort of can't, but that's okay because we don't know who they are.
I'm sure you
don't know who they are.
I'm sure you can figure it out.
Yeah,
you can start another survey.
Sure.
Why don't you go back to your pool and then ask them specific open-ended questions? That's fine. I will do the analysis for you. You don't have to do it.
No, I understand.
I'll create everything you need on those open-ended answers.
Yeah, and I'll just say, there's a lot of things, this being one of them, that came out of getting the results of the survey, right? Hearing from the community this kind of first time around with the survey, that we could certainly do a follow-up survey that pinpoints certain specific things, this being one of them, if we wanted to do that. So that's a good thought, and we will
because
run that up the flagpole, so to speak.
I think to Mayor's point, I think I do agree that you will get something specific coming out of it, and that would be more actionable, right? Because we can talk about, and I know why you kept it open-ended, and that's a good thing.
Because we didn't have answers for that.
You wanted to help us try to figure these things out, and totally appreciate that. But I think survey is a good tool to do that, probably, especially because, and I know like it doesn't have to be the same respondents, but you can go back to the same pool. I think you have like 300 odd respondents. Like I'm sure like if you went back to them, even if you can get like 50 people to respond out of those 300 again.
And I'm going to bring something else up to you guys in a minute that might address that too.
Okay.
So which we haven't
Just
got
an
to,
idea.
But Mimi, go ahead.
One area, when there's public meetings, public events or whatever, we have to be very careful, and it doesn't always happen, that we have a lot of diversity, people celebrate different holidays and so forth, and sometimes meetings are scheduled on an important holiday, and that's something that happened. There's an event in town, I'm not going to mention what it is, that's on Yom Kippur. And then there's a lot of others, you know, if it's Ramadan or if it's Diwali or whatever holiday, and there might be smaller holidays. So that's something I think that, we all.
That's an excellent example.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah,
Right? Like,
I know, that's what I'm saying.
Thank you.
I got one.
yeah.
Yeah, I would say you just perked my interest. As a Jewish resident of Rocky Hill, I always had issues in the school system.
That's a
dealing
perfect
with getting
example.
things off.
See?
I was gonna just mention this is a more personal thing with discussions with people. If you have commissions or committees that are focused on certain topics, for example, like zoning or housing, I feel like maybe asking those committees to look into some of the policies that we have, because I heard personally from people sometimes a lot of the things they dealt with that maybe were unfair were due to things around housing.
Yeah, the problem with that though is you have to put something specific on the agenda, and you cannot. So I truly feel that going back, I mean, yeah, there is anecdotal stuff, there is personal experience which we will bring to the table, but I think there is a good way to, one of the good ways to do it, better ways to do it is to, through the data, just go back and collect that data, and hopefully people will get specific about these things, hopefully.
Thank you.
I
Go
do
ahead,
think-
Chris.
I do think that there's kind of a couple different angles, and not to belabor, but there's the micro level, which is what we get from the survey results, but there's also a more broad level as well. I think when people wonder about, or they talk about, inclusion from a living in a town standpoint, is it, access to resources, or is it, hiring is another one. There's probably large buckets, and that might be something where the perspective of Dana or Commissioner Tan or others might have a insight as far as a municipality. Are we following best practices in those areas? Is it a certification we can pursue? Maybe we're already doing some of those things and we just haven't recognized it. Maybe we can improve. There might be some general things from a process improvement standpoint that as a municipality we can look at, because as I read the intent of that question is, are we also holding up the mirrors to ourselves, the municipality, to see how can we, improve things more programmatically? So that might be something where some of those other resources, maybe could be CCM. I don't know. Other people might be looking to answer those questions as well. We can borrow.
I think that's genius. Yeah, there's got to be buckets somewhere that are like the top of mind for municipalities, and if we could have that information, that would be really helpful, because it's a lot. It's just a lot to wrap your head around.
And Tom, not to try and throw a ton of stuff at you guys and increase your things to do, which you already have a ton of, I know. Sure. But I just want to make sure, we can work with you on this. I mean, it's not you have to do all the
That's why we're here.
on the suggestions I'm giving you. It's not like you have to just
Understood.
go back and it's just I can work, and I think many members here will work with you on
I
that.
appreciate
So
that.
it's not a big deal.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah.
And I will bring in, this is going to segue into one more thing. Did you have something else, Pankaj?
What was that?
Okay. Yeah, nothing else there?
No, I'm
Okay.
good. Thank you.
So the other thing is that we are running focus groups this fall. So we have some focus groups that is going to get at a lot of what we just talked about. So we're recruiting or looking for members of the community to participate in our focus groups. That's my next piece of paper to pass along. So we have 3 dates. Of course, now I just gave her the thing, so I don't know the dates. But I have a copy. I have a copy right here. So we have 3 focus groups that we have scheduled. We have a professional facilitator that will be helping us with those focus groups to really kind of go deeper on things, right? So, and this is one of the topics, and we're actually meeting with our facilitator this week and starting to do some of the detailed planning for those focus groups. So a lot of what you just said tonight will feed into that conversation. But on Thursday, October 19th, at 1 o'clock, 1 to 2:30. On Thursday, October 19th, at 5:30 to 7 p.m. And on Saturday, October 21st, from 10 to 11:30 a.m. So we have 3 dates. And again, I will get you these. I think I actually sent a few of these things to Ray and a few of you guys, these flyers, so you have them electronically as well. But we tried to pick a couple. We have a daytime weekday, an evening weekday, and then a weekend time. So we tried to be, we're all about inclusion, so making sure we can hit everyone on their work schedules, et cetera. Refreshments will be provided. I don't know what that'll look like, and childcare will be provided. So we've worked out childcare as well for folks who need to come with children. If you're interested in participating in that, you can email us at the commission, Our commission email is sort of long, but it's Commission Inclusion Innovation, all jammed together. Commission
a real
Inclusion
headache.
Innovation. That's like super long typing it in. But once you do it, it's in there, right? Can we just at rh.ct.gov. Yeah, or you can go to the website. But please, we're looking for community members to, we have, again, much to your point, Commissioner Prakash, we have, a pool of people to reach out to on different things, so we'll be reaching out to them, former walk, people that participate in the walk, et cetera. But we're looking, again, to really represent the community, so we're looking for people from all parts of our community to participate in those focus groups. So I hit you on the walk, the survey, the focus group. I have one last thing, but I'll make sure you have no more questions before I present my one last thing.
No, I think this is a great idea, and I commend you for doing this. I'm hopeful that we will get more feedback through these to help shape us, our decision making up here, because that would be super beneficial.
Awesome. And I'll give all the shout out to Dana McGee for getting these organized. So I'm just the spokesperson right now for those, but she's done all the work on getting those going. So, and we have a couple commissioners that are working with her. The last thing I'll say is we are looking for new commissioners. So I'll just put that call out publicly that we have, a call out for new commissioners. So we have a couple people that have had to step down for various reasons, moving out of state and such. And so we have one vacancy right now in the commission, and as well as we'll have some folks, just as the way commissions work that you all know, their term will end at the end of this year. So we have opening now, and we'll have opening at the end of the year as well. And so we're looking for commissioners. So I'll pass around a call to serve. And if you guys could also just keep these available, all these flyers available, in the town offices, that would be great. Wherever you guys display that sort of stuff, that would be helpful. And we're spreading the word on these things as much as we can out in the community. So looking for commissioners to join us as well. And we're looking for commissioners who aren't normally part of who we all are on the commission now, haven't traditionally been part of other commissions and such in town. So we are looking for people who have not been involved, although we'll take anyone, to join our commission. So
Is it? I should know
Please.
the answer to this, but is there a minimum age to join the commission?
that's a good question. There's nothing in the thing. Go ahead.
Due to the fact that we are nonpartisan, you do not have to be registered to join our commission, so technically there is not a minimum age. I joined when I was 16. I would say in general, maybe don't join before you're a teenager, because I don't know how much, it's a lot of work, and also you have to get there to the meetings. I was lucky I had a car at the time.
Sure.
But we encourage young people from like 16 up to join as well if they want to have their voices heard in the community. We love to have people that are involved in the school system in it, like I was.
Yeah.
And we love you, Becca. We're so glad that you're there.
There's no upper age limit either.
Yeah.
Prakash. There's no upper age limit. I wasn't looking at you when I said that. I was just generally speaking. Generally speaking.
But yeah, I love that idea. I think we should get more, high school age children involved. Children, like high school, young adults, young students, yeah,
Students,
whatever.
right.
Children. Sorry.
Thank you. Yeah, so again, there's a few flyers for you. Again, we're spreading the word on that. If you could do your parts to spread the word as well. We'd love to have you all at the walk on September 9th, if you can make it. Yeah. Any other questions? That was way more time than I expected to be up here, so. Thank you very much.
We'll be at the farmer's market on Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. All right. Yeah, we have had a presence at the farmer's market last week. We continue to do that, to be out in the community, so we'll hope to see you there.
Well, thank you very much for your hard work.
Thank
we
you.
very much appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Good job. Okay, we're going to move on to subcommittee reports, beginning with finance.
Good evening, Madam Mayor. The Finance Committee did not meet for the August 10th meeting. We had some difficulty getting a quorum together. We did work to reschedule the meeting, but we couldn't come to a date. So in consultation with our finance director, the committee agreed to cancel the meeting for August. We will meet on September 14th at 6 p.m. We were provided with the meeting minutes from the prior meeting, as well as the financial documents to review in advance of the September meeting.
Thank you.
And
Why,
that concludes the finance report.
why is it dark and why is the screen down?
Yes.
Anybody? Thank you.
Excel spreadsheet.
Yes, like, what's,
Oh my God, Punkage, are
like
you?
what's Punkage got up his sleeve?
All right, moving to government operations.
It wasn't me.
I, Government Operations was scheduled to meet, in speaking with Ray last week, it was determined there were no updates of significance to report. So rather than taking the staff's time, we decided not to have this meeting. Our next meeting is scheduled for Monday, September 18th, I believe.
Okay, thank you. Public safety.
Sure, Public Safety met today at 5:30, and just making note, get a little plug, the Blue Star Mothers provided Girl Scout cookies to ambulance, fire, police, and emergency management. They did get those. They donated several, like 10 cases to each department. All right, as far as fire, the report is they responded to 74 incidents for the month. That brings the year-to-total date of calls out 395. Their training hours were recorded at about 165 hours. That brings their year-to-date training to 2,168. 0 firefighter injuries.
No idea.
The average attendance to a call-out is 17 volunteers are mobilizing per call, so we're in good shape there. And the call request for action or for response is up about 12% over last year. So the chief is analyzing, and we do have some reports regarding the types of calls that are coming in, just to see if there's something going on, but we won't have more information on that until next meeting. As far as we did have another flooding event down by I-91, where the Silestein comes under I-91, and the road was completely flooded out. And the fire department did use our rafts to help move people out of stranded cars and vehicles. So that has not happened, I don't believe, ever. So they're looking into that. But that roadway was flooded and impassable, and they did have to do some work there. Year-to-date, the fire department has billed, last year, the full year running July to July, the department billed the state $106,500 for responding to I-95 motor vehicle accidents. And so we started a new year, July, and our total so far is $12,500 billed to the state starting this July. So that program continues to operate. We have 68 total members and 58 active, and the chief reports that recruiting has actually picked up a little bit. He's been working hard at that. We have 4 new members. The year-to-date new members for the fire department are 8. Some of those are some returning folks with a lot of experience, so the department is feeling pretty good about the enrollment in the department. If we look to ambulance, we did have Aetna and Rocky Hill Ambulance reporting, and we're working on their reports and how to assimilate their information, but they responded to 408 calls as well this month, and didn't have anything in particular to point out there. Police reported that they applied for and received a $35,000 grant for unmarked patrols. So we have traffic patrol, we have patrolmen on the streets increased. We're at the required level for our town residents. And now we will, with the advent of that grant, we will have also unmarked patrols to help, us stem the tide of the motor vehicle thefts that are still occurring, still persistent, still up the last 2 months, 6 last month, 5 this month, something like that. So we're working on that. We will have an SRO in place in September. We have 1 injured officer. It was a shoulder injury. Otherwise, all things being equal, the staffing is in good stead. I can give you some of their numbers. get to it. All right. The number of calls for service, and this is just for the fire department, it does not include other calls into dispatch for fire or other incidents. For July, for June, it was 2,834 calls. In July, 3,357 calls. Criminal arrests in July, 34. We're not averaging 34. We're down in the low 20s, generally speaking. But in July, 34. Motor vehicle accidents, 29. DUIs, 6 in July. Infractions issued, 37. Warnings issued, 128. That's down a little bit. We were averaging for the January up to this point above 150 warnings issued, but that's 128 in July. Again, the motor vehicle theft situation is 6 for June and 5 for July, and our total so far in 23 is 30. Our whole total for last year was 27. So there's still an issue going on there that the new chief, Chief Collette, is monitoring. Chief Collette was sworn in as, no? Oh, we have a date on the calendar.
Right, 25th.
The 25th
August.
of August. The new chief, the acting interim chief, Chief Collette, will be sworn in. Thank you, Ray. The Health District reported some interesting information. West Nile virus, 4 tested positive, 4 mosquitoes in the general area in Wethersfield. 1 human case found of West Nile, and that was in New Haven. So the idea is for most residents, they're asking us to dump out water. You have buckets, you have, after all the rains we have, to try to minimize the pooling of water in your yards if you can, where mosquitoes like to breed. COVID-19 is around again and circulating around again, and they know that because of testing in the sewer system, and it's there. It is picked up. Severity is not like it used to be, but COVID-19 is back around. And they're seeing some Lyme cases from ticks and some other strains of tick bite or tick-borne diseases, so that is up as well. The next meeting of public safety will be I guess September.
Yeah, I'm checking. I'm guessing it's the 18th.
Probably
the
17th in front of this.
18th, I think.
18th?
Would be my guess.
Yep. And that's the report.
Thank you. Moving on to senior liaison.
Senior liaison did meet on July 24th. We had a lot of information from Gina Marino. First of all, our membership is up to 1,989 members, of which 1,624 are Rocky Hill residents. Changes have been made to the lunch program based upon the new council budget, where resident lunches are subsidized and non-resident lunches are being paid at the full amount. Gina went through a list of numerous programs she has. So my suggestion, instead of me reading her multiple-page report, would be to, if anybody is interested in getting those events, to contact Senior Services. They have a lot going on. There was one issue brought up at our meeting regarding parking at the Community Senior Center, that there's been issues with parking. My note on that is our town manager will be following up. Ray, I didn't see anything within your note, so I don't know if there'll be an update this evening. Our next meeting is October 23rd.
Thank you. Land acquisition and farmland preservation.
No meeting. Our next meeting is August 22nd at 6 p.m. coming up.
Liaison to the state rep and state senator.
No report.
School liaison.
No report.
And CIP?
CIP did meet on August 16th. We got an update from the Board of Ed on their budget. They are in the process of completing the next phase of the school signs and the Stevens HVAC project. Both will be completed before the start of the school year. On the town side, we had Craig Bowman join the call and share some information on the Elm Ridge Pool. Again, that's been a project that's been discussed but not funded for a number of years, and the pool continues to age along with the bathhouse. We also had a little date on community development, just the importance of the planning process. Kim Ritchie joined our call, and hopefully will continue to join to help keep us on track for some of those items as our town planner. Our next meeting is November 29th.
Thank you. And Economic Development Subcommittee?
There is no scheduled meeting at this time.
Okay, thank you. We have nothing on the consent agenda, nor do we have old business, so we're going to go into new business. A, discussion, possible action, proposed ordinance to establish an affordable housing committee. So because we need to leave these on the agenda for 10 days?
No, that's for the naming committee.
Oh, not for these, no. Okay, great. So I'm going to put a motion out there.
Sure. Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to establish an affordable housing committee.
A second?
Discussion?
Maybe just approve an ordinance creating.
Propose an ordinance to establish
Right.
an affordable housing committee.
Is that different what you said? That's what he.
It is,
But
yeah.
I'll second.
Have ordinance in
Oh,
there.
sorry. Second. Okay. Sorry. Second.
Discussion. Oh,
Sorry, just in order, do we have to, because there's like a specific notification process where we posted the ordinance, like, do we have to, should it say like as posted? Like, we haven't adopted one of these in a while.
Well, we've done a few in the past year already. So it's just, it's
as-
administrative. We have to post, we have to advertise it in the local paper for 30 days before it becomes effective.
Right, I mean, in terms of the motion, do we say, as the ordinance as posted, or is it just fine to say and adopt an ordinance?
Well, it's not posted yet.
We posted it for review.
As proposed?
As proposed, covers us?
Sure. You can make that amendment.
Okay.
But it says proposed.
Right, just in terms of the motion that Ed made. I don't know if we need to say.
Like, are you saying as stated in our packet? You mean type of
Yes,
thing?
yes. That way there's no confusion as part of, yes.
Approve the ordinance to establish an affordable housing committee as proposed.
Yes, perfect. That is my suggestion.
Is that a friendly amendment? Do I
It's a
accept
friendly
it?
amendment.
Yes.
Accepted?
And I'll second the friendly amendment.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Discussion, possible action, proposed ordinance for the uniform valuation of personal property. And I believe we have a guest speaker tonight.
If you have questions.
So we need a motion and then a second, and then we have discussion and bring them in. So, Madam Mayor, I make a motion to move forward with the as proposed ordinance in our packet for an ordinance providing additional property,
All right, B, new business B.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Proposed ordinance for the uniform valuation of personal property.
And I'll second.
Okay, discussion. We'll invite our guest speaker, maybe just for a very brief explanation.
On this, I'm the assessor, Stuart Topoff. This will just help me, or I don't want to say force, but it'll just guarantee that, everybody gets treated equitably here in town on the business personal property valuation.
Is it a matter of not having something in writing presently?
Although I do treat everybody the same, there's latitude. It gives me discretion sometimes, and where I don't necessarily want it. And this just says this is how you have to do it. And on our side, we like definitive things. And this makes it very definitive on how we do it. And it's not a change from what I'm doing. It just solidifies what we're actually doing now. It just says, okay, what you're doing now is what we want you to do here in the future.
Got it.
Just in looking at my notes from the past meeting, we are following or we're more formally saying that we're going to follow the guidance of a particular depreciation schedule.
We are actually following this actual ordinance right now. This is just saying the town of Rocky Hill wants the assessor to do this. So if another assessor comes in and wanted to do it differently, they wouldn't be able to do it because you're saying, no, this is the way we want the town of Rocky Hill to do it.
And all of that's reflected on the forms when you fill it out? What's on there would remain the same?
I will not have to change a thing.
Okay. Any further discussion?
Are there any, because you're the only person I know who wants less flexibility in town government, I guess, or anywhere else for that matter. But yeah, I mean, do you see any like downsides to it? Like a month from now, you're doing your work.
I don't see a downside. It just makes it so. I mean, the downside is I don't have the flexibility. So if someone says, oh, I can say, I'm sorry, this is what the rules are, and I'm just following the rule.
Okay.
Fair
enough.
The biggest headache for me right now is motor vehicles because I'm following the rules, and the used car market is extremely high, and I'm fortunate that we have a guideline that the state says this is what you're supposed to do because it really protects the town because it's what we have to do. If there was no rule or regulation that says this is how you have to do it, then it just makes it more difficult to us because there's always the person that says, well, you don't have to do it that way. And this just says now, yes, I do.
Okay. No, fair enough. Thank you.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Stuart. Oh, Ellen, you said aye?
Yes, he did.
Okay. Moving on to C.
Yes.
Thank you. Discussion, possible action, proposed ordinance to adopt the municipal option for property tax exemption for 100% disabled veterans.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to propose that we approve the proposed ordinance entitled, quote, municipal option for property tax exemption for 100% disabled veterans, close quote, in our packet.
Second.
Discussion. Would you like to speak to that?
This is just an ordinance that was, or it's a local option that the state passed in the legislature session in 2022. It's 100% reimbursed by the state at the moment. So by enacting this ordinance, there's no loss to the town, but it would help our most vulnerable veterans here in the town of Rocky Hill. There are guidelines that are to be met, but we'll be, if this passes, we will reach out to those individuals that would qualify and make sure that they receive the benefit.
Stuart, can you quantify what the benefit is going to be for, or with this proposal?
What the benefit is, or how many it's
will
going
be
to benefit?
Estimated.
How many people that are going to qualify?
Yeah. And how much they're going to save, if you know that. Like, I don't know if you do.
It's around 10-ish, 10 to 12 that I know of right now with a very general look at the data we have. That doesn't mean that other people aren't going to come in, but we have to really scrub our veterans list. And what it'll do is it'll go from if they're 100% disabled now, they get $10,000 exemption. It's $10,500. If this would make it $31,500, so the mill rate $34.9. It's $35 times 35.
Right.
That's what their benefit's going to be.
Okay. No, thank you. It's the right thing to do, I guess. Yeah. I think so.
I think it's an opportunity to do something. And there's, at the moment, pending state funding, there is no loss to the town. You know, there's a lot of programs that started out that way and are not that way. But the impact, if they decided one day not to fund it, is relatively small by the number of people that would be eligible.
How does someone find out that they're eligible for this program? Is that they have is that done automatically through the town? Is it someone they work with at the state? Or do they have to apply for it? How does that?
We find out when someone comes in and files their discharge. We would ask if they're disabled, and if they're disabled, they get a disability rating from the VA, and then they file that form with us. And when they file that form, it tells us what their rating is, and we automatically apply, even now, what their benefit is.
So there's no extra step that they would have to take?
There's no extra step for us. The only other thing I have to do is in our software program into this local option, and then it's just automatic after that.
So it's a triple exemption for 100% disabled.
That meet the income guidelines, yes.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's a no-brainer.
Yeah, I agree. The income guideline is the biggest part of it, because we have quite a few 100% disabled veterans, but we don't have many that meet the income guidelines. And those are the most vulnerable ones, is the ones that meet the income guidelines.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Stuart.
Yep.
Thank you.
Don't move.
Thank you, Alan.
Farmland.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion that we schedule a public hearing for a proposed ordinance for, quote, property tax exemption for buildings used in farming, close quotes.
Second.
Do we have to put a date on that?
I'm looking for the September 18th meeting, so it's in time for November, because there's a November deadline for people to apply for this exemption.
Proposing that the public hearing be September 18th.
Do we want to hear from Stuart first? I would like to hear from Stuart first.
Well, first, you can always make the ordinance retroactive. So if you wanted to do it next April, you could do it and make it retroactive. But I think this would be a really good ordinance for our local farmers. They're getting, it's a really bad year. This is probably the worst year I've seen them since I've been here in Rocky Hill. But I don't know if, did you share the analysis with them that I?
Yes, Stuart, I asked Stuart to do a financial analysis of what this would cost. And for the building exemption, it comes out to like $21,500 total for all the farms.
I mean,
who are eligible.
So a lot of the farmers that we have already are receiving an exemption that exempts the majority of their stuff. This just helps out what's remaining. And as you heard Ray, there's, again, a very little impact because farmers, because we value and use, they get a beneficial treatment based on the use of their property. And so you might think, oh, there's a lot there, but there's not, because of we value and use, as opposed to like everybody else's property, we value at market value.
And there's the building exemption, and there is the equipment exemption.
Yes.
And it probably makes sense if you talk through for both. How big is this? Anybody who has PA 490 status, or is it you have to be of a certain size to qualify?
Okay, so currently the law says that in order to qualify for the exemption, you have to either receive an income $15,000 or have indebtedness or spend $15,000 annually, and that's reflected on the Farmer's Schedule F. So in order to qualify for the the exemption, they have to file their Schedule F with our office. And then based on their Schedule F, if they meet that $15,000 profit or loss, that triggers whether they're eligible for the exemption. So that limits the number of people that actually qualify for it. And then I'm sure if you just take a moment and think about it, you can think about all the farmers that are in town that qualify for it.
And it covers that process covers the people that we would intend to help with this program.
I'm going to say everybody that came to you at the last meeting, it probably covers all them.
That's fantastic. So we want to set a date for the public hearing?
That was,
Do we need a time also?
well, that was, we did say I thought we said the 18th.
We did, yeah, September 18th.
That was for D. That was for the farm buildings.
Yeah, I haven't made a motion on E yet.
Yeah.
So we're still on D. We've had discussion. Do we have a vote to accept it make a public hearing on the 18th at 6:30?
6:30, yeah, I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make.
Thank you, Alan.
Thank you, Alan.
Forget about you, Alan.
Okay, I'd like to, so this would probably be a public hearing in the same timeframe, the 6:30 public hearing. So I'd like to make a motion that we propose a public hearing on September 18th at 6:30 for a second proposed ordinance, quote, an ordinance providing an additional property tax exemption for farm equipment.
Should we just say 6:45?
6:45.
Just make a distinction. Yep. I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
I just have a
Yeah,
question.
wait,
It
stop.
says farm machinery. What's the difference between machinery and equipment? Is there any, are we talking about the big machines? I just want to clarify.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's no, it's machinery and equipment.
Okay.
Okay, all in favor? Aye. All right, thank you.
Alan?
Now can he leave?
He's frozen.
No, he said aye before. Yeah, there he said it again.
He's good.
Aye, yep.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay.
We did have.
Thank you, Stuart.
You as well. So we did our Commission on Inclusion. We're going to now go to G. G1, Memorial Naming Committee nominations, Straska Farm to Rocky Hill Community Farm.
Madam Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to accept the naming committee's recommendation that we name the property known previously as Straska Farm, to name it per the applicant's request to Rocky Hill Community Farm.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
The only thing I wanted to raise is that I know there has been a separate naming application for the facility, the barn. That'll be, once that is built, it will have its own process going through that. So this does not change any plan to rename the barn.
Correct.
All in favor?
Aye.
Moving
Aye.
to, thank you, Ellen. Moving to G2, Town Green to Veterans Memorial Green.
Let me address numbers 2 and 3.
Okay.
According to the ordinance, once the nominating committee, once the mayor forwards to the town council a name, it needs to be on the agenda and cannot be voted on until a previous subsequent meeting, because according to the ordinance, it cannot be voted on within 10 days of it being on the agenda, so.
No less than 10 days.
No less than 10.
days on
Yes,
the-
That's what I
council
thought I
agenda.
said, but
Sorry, I'm a nerd for that stuff. I look at that
He's
stuff.
not the attorney in the group. Yeah. Okay.
You need a motion to table those two, or
or you can just
leave them?
just table them.
So was it okay we vote on the first one?
Yes.
Yeah,
That was,
Yes.
yeah, 'cause I
That
think
did
that
show.
was on our council agenda
Okay.
A long time ago.
a long time ago. I'll move to table.
yeah. I'll second the table.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye. Okay, great. All right, moving on to the mayor's report. So we had a ribbon cutting that Councilor Thoreau and I, actually Town Manager Carpentino, went to today, and I want to give a big shout out to the many new businesses that are opening up in town, and particularly along the Silas Deane Highway. It's really incredible to see the growth there, and we're delighted because if you've had an opportunity to take a look at our new banners. They look wonderful. They incorporate our town's economic development logo, and it just, it adds not just to the beauty of it, but it shows our commitment to the infrastructure and to the businesses, particularly along the Silas Deane Highway. When you couple it with the brand new sidewalks and the streetscape and the landscaping looks great. I mean, I think it's the heat and everything that just made those plants grow huge. And it's just a really nice look. And it's really something like you don't appreciate it when you fly by the Silas Deane Highway, but if you stop like I did today and you get your coffee and you take a little stroll, it really is quite lovely. And I do see a lot of joggers and walkers early in the morning from the apartment. So I'm so glad that we are slowing down traffic out there a little bit, and people are enjoying the Silas Deane Highway. The Farmers Market's been a huge success, and we have one left on August 30th, so I encourage everyone to go out there. National Night Out was another huge success, and hundreds of people came out. There was a country band, and they all came out to celebrate our wonderful police department, who is known for their community policing. And I just want to remind everyone out there that we have a CALEA accredited police department that is really the gold standard of policing, and something that many departments across the nation have sought to accomplish and or are seeking to accomplish. But we have that here, and that is a testament particularly to their ability and training in community policing. And a big shout out to the Rocky Hill Fire Department for the awesome foam party that they had. We had a great time, probably more so than the kids did in that foam pit. So for those who don't know, they put some Dawn dish detergent into the fire hose, and they just sprayed across the field, and the foam was super, super high, and you could just run in and out of it. And I saw some people up here actually in that foam pit and having a great time. The town held a very special ceremony on August 2nd to unveil our new commemorative way down by the Rocky Hill Volunteer Ambulance in memory of Chief Joe Graham, whom we lost in a line of duty death. And it was very, very touching ceremony, and it's nice to know that we have an ability to pass by that and see Joe's name in perpetuity here in town, and to remember him, because to know Chief Graham was certainly to love him. The town manager and I, along with some residents, but some folks from Rocky Hill Sustainable Task Force went out to the $30 million material recovery facility earlier in the month, and it was absolutely fascinating to see where our recycling goes. They have all types of high-tech optical sorters. They have AI, and they also have robotics incorporated into this incredible system. Councilor Thoreau was there, and it was a really neat, eye-opening kind of thing. La Festa Italia America is shaping up to be an awesome event. I want to thank both Unico and all of the committee members from really around the state who have been actively involved in bringing this event to Rocky Hill, and we are certainly looking forward to that at the amphitheater on September 30th. There was a very nice article about it in the Hartford Courant, and also a very nice article maybe today or the day before on the new ice cream shop on the Silas Deane Highway. So lots of happy attention lately for the town. I want to wish a very happy Indian Independence Day to all who celebrated on the 13th, Councillor Prakash. And there was an incredible event up at the state capitol and many folks in attendance. And again, the following day, we had an opportunity to celebrate Pakistan Independence Day and do a flag raising ceremony there in the capitol. And that was on August 14th. So I want to wish everyone a happy Independence Day who celebrated that as well. And a couple more things. We already talked about A Mile in My Shoes, September 9th. Mark your calendars, 9 a.m. in Elm Ridge. And, as you know, the governor, I'm very honored, the governor appointed me to his opioid settlement advisory committee, and through that I am now on a subcommittee for finance and compliance, and we're working on how a list of ideas. Kind of, I would say it's very much analogous to when we were waiting for guidance on the ARPA funding, because the funding was coming in and they kept telling us, we're going to give you the guidance, but really it was a year of us spending it before we got the guidance. And the same is happening with that opioid settlement money. But the town has some really, really amazing things. I know through our Health and Human Services Department and through our police department, they're putting ideas together on how we can begin to spend some of that money now, because we're going to start getting money for many years. Not a lot. Was it 8,000, 18,000? I don't remember.
Yes.
Annually. But a good chunk to put a little dent in what's going on here in Rocky Hill. And I think that's about it. So I'm going to turn it over to Town Manager's report.
Just a few things. You have my report in your package. A quick update on Cedar Hollow. Staff had a follow-up meeting with residents and their property manager, the HOA attorney, as well as town staff and the mayor on August 8th to review some action items that we had gone over with them, I believe, the previous month. Those action items included waiving building permit fees for all the repairs that they need to do, as well as expediting the permits issuance and the inspections. Giving the HOA Kerma's insurance information and explaining that process. And also accessing Eversource, looking for help with coordinating all of their massively increased electrical bills due to the dehumidifiers having to be run constantly, as well as the fans. Eversource has contacted the HOA, and they're looking to coordinate that issue with them. We had sent out the town assessor to do some inspection of each of the units that were impacted and make assessment adjustments accordingly, and base the new assessment on what's present on October 1st. And we are still awaiting the 84-acre watershed drainage study being conducted by the Belfonte engineers. They are waiting for a response from the Cedar Hollow engineers to complete that one remaining issue of what they have, so they can coordinate what they need to make adjustments for their drainage for their project. Although next week they will be on their site shooting some elevations in preparation for that. The Meadows flooding.
Ray, can I ask you a question on Cedar Hollow, if you're staying there? Do you have any update from the state representative office, anything on the state,
Emergency management?
Yeah.
Funding, yes.
Yeah.
Those funds are not available. What happened at Cedar Hollow was not eligible for that particular funding. In order for them to actually just initiate an interest, they need to see a minimum of 25 residential units destructed, just completely wiped out. And obviously that didn't happen here.
So we are not eligible for any state programs?
Not at this time, no.
Anything in the pipeline from the state rep's office?
Not that I've heard, no.
Okay. Second question I had was on the same topic is, do you have any filings from the residents on the any insurance claims? I think you sent out this memo.
We did get a claim from the HOA, and so Kerma has initiated an investigation.
Okay.
From our side, and we also gave the HOA attorney Belfonte's contractors insurance information, so they can file a claim against them also.
Okay. Thank you.
And could you just perhaps bring a little bit of clarity? I know it's not the town bringing these different folks or engaging these different folks, but when we say the Belfonte engineers, do they hire out a third party? Are those in-house? Because obviously there's a concern about potential of conflict of interest, but how are the engineering for Cedar Hollow working with the adjoining site?
What they have done is they have what they call scoped the entire drainage system from Main Street through Kelson Row through Cedar Hollow. They allowed them to do that to make sure that look for blockages or decay of the concrete drainage structures. And now they are waiting to try to work with Cedar Hollow engineers to get that information to complete the 84-acre drainage analysis.
So on that analysis, we do have there's cooperation or some level of impartiality, we think, as part of that process?
We hope that.
Sure.
Also, Belfonte they do have an engineering firm, and they also have the contractors firms, and that contractor has subcontracted. So we have the subcontractor, we have Associated, which is the general contractor, and then we have the engineers that are working. So there are three elements on the Belfonte side.
Thanks.
As far as the Meadows flooding goes, back a month ago, I had asked for estimated damage costs, and they were gathered. There were apparently almost $3 million of crop lost for that particular flooding event, and that was submitted to the state as requested by the state. And so far, there is no word as to whether or not we will receive any funding for that either. We are looking at other avenues. I did mention something similar we did to Cedar Hollow with assessments, but I'm not sure if that's going to be of any use for them at this point. As was mentioned in the Deputy Mayor's report, we had some flooding on the Silas Deane Highway on the 18th, severe flooding in the vicinity of I-91, exit 24 interchange. Several businesses were shuttered. The first floor occupants of the Holiday Inn Express had to be relocated. Some of these businesses suffered some substantial damage, particularly the hotel. The first floor was flooded completely. We are reaching out to DOT and also MDC for a meeting to discuss if there are any solutions to this problem, because it's not the first time. I remember since I've been here at least one other or two other events that have occurred at that area. So there is a floodplain. The hotel is actually located in the floodplain. It dates back many decades, originally. So.
I think if I can just add on to that, I'm going to see through some of the legislative committees that I sit on, the public safety ones and public health ones, if maybe CCM and COST and or CROG wants to take a look at reimagining that IIJA infrastructure money that's coming from the president to maybe allow towns across the state, or at least those that have been significantly impacted lately, to sort of look at, our infrastructure as it pertains to when these heavy rains come and, the streams are, flooding. And because at some point, the way the weather patterns are, we're going to have to take a look at this. And so if we can maybe start a study process or something.
Yeah. Regarding the DEEP grant that the town received, we're waiting for an answer from them regarding the second series of questions that were addressed, and hopefully we either get the answer saying, yes, we approve you for $200,000 or some amount that we were asking for, or maybe a third set of questions that Mona McKinn can spend her time answering again. Because Mona has she has taken the lead role in this particular project. So we reached out, the mayor reached out today, and we have not heard back from that particular individual. Just a reminder, Chief Klett is being sworn in at 10 a.m. Friday, August 25th. All are invited here in the council chambers. Chief Gary, he has been given the duties of the emergency management director. He had indicated that fact at the public safety meeting earlier tonight before this meeting. Just a quick note that Eversource will be replacing some of their insulators, particularly off of the Orchard Street area. Those things, those ceramic on top of the telephone poles that the wires go through. I guess they have a life, and now they need to replace them. The Teachers Association contract negotiations are coming due now. You have a letter in your package from Dr. Zito. Just let me know, or let Dr. Zito know if one of you would like to get information or be involved marginally in that particular activity, either sitting in or getting updates. Hayes Road stop sign. I put a hold on that project. In the past 2 weeks, I have not realized how many DOT certified traffic engineers live in Rocky Hill. I do now. And I welcome and value their input. I received quite an analysis from Natasha this morning. So I am going to stop this project and review and take a closer look and work with Natasha, hopefully, to come up with a solution. I don't want to make a decision that's going to create a potentially more dangerous situation. That, I admit I'm not a traffic engineer. Steve Sopolak is a PE. He has great knowledge of traffic engineering, but some additional, very detailed information that I've received, I need to take a second look at this.
Just a quick question. In the meantime, do we need to cover those stop signs with a different material?
Yeah, I wasn't aware of the reflective material, so that's going to change too.
Great.
Yeah.
And Ray, outside of the stop sign, just the question about the finishing the sidewalk, adjusting that gap, is that something that we can accommodate through the existing sidewalk fund, or is that like a LoSiP grant or something else? And
Yeah, it could be a LoSiP grant. We can do that. We also have a road referendum funds that we can look at, but probably Steve would probably want to do the LoSiP.
I think so.
Yeah.
And we think that's something, I'm not sure how much space we're looking at there, but that's without putting a time on it and assigning funds, that's like a reasonable type of thing that we would accommodate to the normal sidewalk projects.
Can put that in capital budget. If not sooner.
Right.
What would a timeline look like for that kind of thing, if you were going to go that route?
So it would depend on the estimate.
Yeah.
Because obviously if it's over the 50,000, it's going to have a bid, so we'll be slowed down by that. And so it really depends on that first estimate and what direction. But they're looking at it right away.
Yeah, we
Okay.
need, yeah, as Martin said, we need to go out for you have to do the bidding process and comply with CHRO requirements. So it takes a little bit of time, but.
Sure. Understood. Thank you.
In terms of question, Ray, would that come back through government ops or? Oh, so how will we get additional feedback on this? What's going on between the sidewalk idea and the reports that you're going to analyze regarding highway
The sidewalks are just a typical, finance, and then a resolution goes to the town council. That's pretty straightforward. The road, if you want me to bring it back to public safety, I can. Would you like that? I'm open.
Yeah, if you could do a report, on the status of it.
Where we
so
are,
that
what
we're
we're
just
looking at, sure.
Aware of the details of it, when you get everything
Yeah.
together. Yeah.
River's Edge update? AKA the
We're
Foundry.
sitting, okay.
When I wrote my report, there was no progress, there was no update. I talked to Attorney Eric Parker, who emailed me. They've hired Cross Key Architects. They're working on floor plans and layouts so they can get their building permits. He did not give me a timeline as to when they would do that. So that's all the detail that we have right now.
Yeah, we were going to actually have Eric come in.
Yeah.
But with his, former partner passing, we didn't want to, and we were like, okay, we can let this go a little while. And he got a little report, so maybe next time.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much activity is occurring.
Yeah.
As you all know, and I've been here 17 years, and I've been hearing roughly the same thing for 17 years. Oh, probably since 2008 or 10.
Yep.
They got an extension for the permit during COVID.
For wetlands.
When does that expire?
You were on that commission when they did that, correct?
I was. That was 2 kids ago and some gray hair.
so-
You see how he threw that back at you, Chris?
That's a good question. I will check on that.
I think Eric told us, it's a couple, if we just look at the meeting when Eric was here last, he told us how many years left.
I think it's substantial, though.
It is significant.
Yeah.
Sadly.
Unless the railroad changes hands again.
9/11 ceremony. That is being planned for 6:30 p.m., 739 Old Main Street. We will be distributing invites very shortly. We assume the mayor will be the MC at that particular event. So information coming. National Selfie Day. You missed that one in your report.
I had it on this mess of a note.
Do you want to?
No. Thank you.
As you know, every year National Selfie Day. It's a CCM thing or?
It is.
Yeah. They would like town halls to take selfies of their staff or whatever they want us to do. So this year.
They're good-looking town manager.
So this year, somebody, I don't know who it was, decided why don't we get the fire department to put me up in a ladder to take a photo of everybody down in front of the fountain in front of town hall. I am not really happy with heights, but I did it. I succeeded. I'm not sure how well the photos came out because we were too high, I think. But next year, maybe if we do it again, we'll take it from a lower elevation. So that's all.
Last year, didn't you climb up on the?
Last year, I climbed up on the wall, in front of the senior center.
Yeah. And Aaron Connolly joined you from WFSB.
Right.
so
I'm sorry. Yeah, Aaron Connolly joined me.
Thank you.
Just Just want to make a shout out to Dwayne Thomas. He's being commended by Sergeant Foss Rugen for his dedication during a few incidences during the holiday week, July 4th. You have a letter in your package, very well addressing his commitment to that particular series of events. So it's not often we get letters like this for staff, so I think it was important to just let Dwayne know that he's appreciated and that he's mentioned tonight. Dwayne Thomas works for the Highway Department. Just a couple of small things. Just a quick update. The Glastonbury sidewalks, we do have lots of money for that, for the connection to the river from Main Street. We're looking at probably in the range of a $700,000 project for those sidewalks. There will be some right-of-way issues that we need to deal with property owners, abutting property owners, and DOT. Same for Century Hills sidewalks, where we do have a steep grant, and we also have some lot SIP grant money to do those sidewalks around the Century Hills loop in 2 phases, using both of those grant funding sources. And that's all I have.
That's a lot.
How much for each of those?
For Century Hills?
Oh, no, for Glastonbury Ave and then.
Glastonbury Avenue, around 700 right now. And I believe the Century Hills is 600,000.
Ray, how many farmers markets are left? Farmer market? One or two, I think.
Oh.
I thought there was one.
I thought August 30th was the last one.
Okay.
This one this week, too.
This week.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh. 2.
23rd and
okay.
30th, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes your report.
Move to adjourn.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you, everyone. Good night.